So where do you start when you're looking for a supplement? We'll be sharing with you a number of tips to help you make an informed choice. Hi, and welcome to the Snooze Strategists. This is the show where we share with you how to be more focused, rested, and productive by providing strategies to manage your energy levels through better sleep. I'm Alex Young, a tech entrepreneur and a corporate innovator with over 20 years experience building digital products and advising startup founders.
I am Ashen, a sleep scientist and an innovator with over 10 years of experience working in hospitals, leading research into sleep and advising emerging sleep ventures.
Great. So Ashen, last episode, we talked a little bit about two possible supplements that you've recommended, which you think are great for individuals to take, particularly if they have that stress or need to calm before bedtime. And you did mention that we'll have another discussion coming up soon, and this is the one. And this is really interesting and a lot more in your backyard when it comes to the science. And we'll take people on a little bit of a journey here, I think, when it comes to how do you choose a supplement. So you had one on the screen, which was what was the name of it? The Jarrow's
formula.
Jarrow's formula. Now that one, we already did a little bit of homework, and it's not Australian. And we'll sort of go through a little bit of a journey on how do you choose, how do you identify what's going to be effective for you, because if you do just a little bit of Googling, you'll see that there's a lot out there. It's hard to know what to choose, and it's hard to know what's the difference between them. This is a Google I did just earlier today. So Google Australia. I've typed in sleep supplements, looked at the images in particular. There's a mix of known brands that we see daily here in Australia, and there's some there that I've never seen before. So how do you know where to begin when you look at something like this?
That's kind of the $1 million question, Alex, because you're right. Even if you look online or go to a physical pharmacy or a chemist, you will see shelves full of different brands pretty much selling the same product. It's a tricky one, but I think where I usually start, I try to see first whether I actually need it or not, the supplement itself. I think that's a great point to start. Perhaps speak to your doctor, do some blood test, and see whether it's a multivitamin or whether it's your vitamin B or the vitamin D. Make sure you actually need it before you go and spend money on it. I think that's a big step. The next one, I try to see the credibility of the company itself, because there are so many different, in this screen, we can see at least 4 different manufacturers selling kind of sleep-related products, right? So if it's an Australian brand product or selling physically in Australia, it has to be listed in TGA website. TGA is the Therapeutic Goods Administration, our governing body in Australia for all things medical devices, medication, supplements. So that's a great first step. Every product that listed in TGA will have a number dedicated to that particular product. So you can see in the screen AUST R and AUST L. AUST R, in the simplest form, AUST R means there's evidence to say product is effective. So there's evidence behind efficacy of the product. And the AUST L means whatever the ingredients in the product is safe and low risk.
Okay. And by efficacy, you mean it does what it says it does?
That's right. And there's evidence behind that claim.
Okay. Yep.
So that's the AUST R part. And AUST L don't usually have that. It just says whatever you need are low risk, they're safe, and it meets the quality standards. I actually have a prescription medication here, but you can clearly see the, sorry, I'm not sure whether it comes up in the camera, but it shows AUST R number, though that means it meets the efficacy standards. So there's evidence to say whatever this medication says, it works. And on the other hand, I got some supplements here. They all say AUST L. And
Yeah.
And usually the vitamins, supplements, as you can see in the screen, it falls under AUST L.
Okay, that's new for me and good education. The difference between the AUST L and the AUST R number. And I guess the next step that I was looking at. So I've gone to a website. I found something in particular. Like we can run through this example here. So this is just going to Google, found a particular product, followed it through the Chemist Warehouse, Australian chain. We've got here this Swiss Ultra Boost Ashwagandha Calm Plus. So that's what you recommended last time, but just from a different manufacturer. They didn't have an L number in this. I couldn't find it on the website. And you can zoom in on the actual product, but I still couldn't find it. So I went to this website, the Australian Register of Therapeutic Goods. So as you mentioned, any product in Australia, supplement needs to be registered with the TGA. I've typed in the name of the product. I guess this is a great sort of next step for anyone that wants to better understand it. It's brought up the result, and there's a brief listing of information here. And I guess what I want to get your help on is this is also available. So there's a link at the bottom of the page which lets you download this. So can you sort of talk through what are we looking at and what can we learn from this?
So this is the summary of the document that TGA put together with what's in it, how they work, when the license approval got started, who produced it, all that information. So this is absolutely, if you want something, look up in ARTG, make sure it's there. If it's there, read this document. And it says what it's good for. I think further down, it has probably listed the active ingredients of this particular product. So in this case, the ashwagandha. And it talks about associations with different diuretic medication.
Sorry. I'm moving down the screen. So what are we looking at here on this page? We've got the components.
Yeah. So active ingredients is basically the biggest or the main components of that, in this case, in this tablet. If you see it, you can probably understand it doesn't make a lot of sense because it's in scientific names, not the common names for certain products. So the first one, Gonoderma lucidum, it's a mushroom. It's called reishi mushroom. I'm not sure whether you have heard of it. There are some claims that it's supposed to calm you down and give a bit of mental energy. So it has 50 milligrams of that. Magnesium citrate, which is a form of magnesium. Once again, magnesium is good for you to calm down. It's about 340 milligrams of that. Passiflora is passion flower. Once again, not the Western medication, but coming from like alternative medicine, people say it has its own benefits. There's 60 milligrams of that. Withania somnifera is the ashwagandha that we talked in the last episode. It has 30 milligrams of ashwagandha. So this is a great starting point for you to see, like, assess. In this case, there are multiple compounds kind of stacked, and hopefully this will calm people down. And the other ingredients is usually what's in each capsule. So it could be some of the fillers to make the capsule, make sure that it doesn't break. So there are a lot of different other chemicals in there. If the product is listed in ARTG, it's a good sign that it has some level of validity or credibility behind it. But that doesn't necessarily mean when you have it, this will have all the benefits they claim to have. But safety-wise, this is a great step. So if you buy a product in Australia or an Australian made, or either selling in physically in Australia, definitely make sure it's listed here.
Okay. So there's products that are manufactured in Australia and they'll have a AUST L or an AUST R. If it's got an AUST R, that's a big tick. That's definitely lab certified. It does what it says.
Yep.
If it's AUST L, as is this one, then it's safe, but it doesn't answer the question of the efficacy.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah.
Okay. How about when it comes to, we can buy a lot online these days, so there's quite a bit of American products that we find. How might we better? How do we even trust it? Like, what should we do?
Yeah, that's right. So two things I would look for: make sure it has NSF international certification, which is an independent organization that tests and certifies supplements to make sure that they don't have any harmful chemicals, any illegal recreational products. So for an example, if you're a sportsman, you have to make sure that you have to you adhere by very strict regulations. And the other one that you need to keep an eye on is USP. It's a not-for-profit that once again sets standards for quality and purity of supplements. So if the product you buy have either of those certifications, that's a great start, that it's a high quality product that works. I would start with there and then look for the actual kind of chemicals in it. Make sure you don't have any allergens in that list. If you can, contact the manufacturer and see if you can get an independently evaluated lab result. Most manufacturers get their product tested independently, so if you can, and they are willing to share that with you, if then you know the product's actually there rather than just on the label, so you can make sure there's no heavy metal or anything containing. So great example would be your fish oil, because it's very, very popular. Fish oil obviously coming from fish. Some of the fish, bigger fish in the sea, have mercury in them, so it has to be coming from the right source to make sure you don't end up consuming a lot of heavy metal in that case. And I think the other important thing, don't rely on ranking websites. Don't rely on any social media or any influencers that promoting things. If there's any affiliation to the manufacturer, there's no credibility that they promote it because they get paid for it. So in our podcast, what we try to do, we don't have any affiliation with any of the manufacturers when we recommend products. Those, maybe make sure there's enough scientific evidence behind it, or either Alex and I have tried them and we had some benefit, therefore we recommend it. So it's a good way to make sure that you don't buy products that way.
Okay, that's great, and I think in the description later on at least on YouTube, it'd be good to include the information around the USP and the American sites and sources to use there. But this is that's three really good, strong sort of approaches to take. It does take a little bit of Googling, and I guess that's the research behind it. You need to spend a little bit more time beyond the reviews to ascertain efficacy, and I guess that's the real question here. Does it work? Does it actually do what it says it does, and does it have, in particular, the third point you've got there in the recommendations, only have the supplements that are needed? So we were looking earlier, before doing our prep work for this show, a gym supplements brand that, and it seems to be a growing trend of, sleep and grow. You sleep, we'll put you to sleep, and then your muscles will grow. And it was quite a collection, would you say, of the necessary and the unnecessary?
Yeah, so you have to be very careful. I mean, that particular example, there were so many different chemical compounds. There's not enough evidence to say whether they have any reactions together, whether that's harmful. I would say it's unnecessary.
Okay, brilliant. So just to recap, so look up the chemical compounds and do research on the efficacy of the chemical compounds. So that was the, in simple terms, if it's an Australian manufacturer and it's got the AUST L or AUST R number, you can look that up on the RTG website. We'll put the link below. So that's one path. If it's AUST L, then you can do you have a recommended search term? What should people look for when it comes to third-party lab results?
Make sure it contains what the label says it contains. So that's the starting point for the first one. And independent sites like consumer labs have a lot of testing. So it's an international website. that will provide a lot of evidence on whether the efficacy side of the product as well. We'll include all the links in the
okay.
in the show notes and also our social media sites as well.
Cool. It's called Consumer Labs, is it?
That's right,
Consumer Labs.
consumerlabs.com.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool, great. Awesome resources, and that's good. I learned a lot through this sort of process. Yes, there's a lot of links that are required to sort of get you on your journey. But please, if you like this, follow us. And if you've got any more questions, you can join the Facebook group, and it'd be great to hear from you. This is quite a little bit of a minefield when it comes to supplements, and it's great to do your homework and not be swayed simply by the marketing.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks a lot, and see you next time.